Hammond City Council Public Hearing Agenda, October 11, 2022, 5:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilman Andrews.
Present.
Councilman Divatario.
Present.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Leon.
Present.
Councilman Wells.
Hammond City Council Regular Session Agenda, October 11, 2022. Roll call, please.
Councilman Andrews.
Present.
Councilman Divatario.
Present.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Leon.
Present.
And Councilman Wells.
Our prayer. Eternal Father, we thank you on this evening, giving you the glory and honor that is due your name. Father God, thanking you for your darling Son, who you allowed to die upon the cross in our place. Father God, we come at this time asking for forgiveness for our sins. We come right now, Father God, asking you continue to guide us, continue to keep us, continue to watch over us. Father God, I ask you continue to bless our city, our state, and our country. I ask you continue to bless each council member and their family. Continue to bless our administration and our city. Continue to watch over our firemen and our policemen as they continue to protect us. Father God, on this evening we ask you that everything be done decent and order and pleasing in your sight, where you would get all the glory, you would get all the honor and all the praise, and therefore you would be happy and we will magnify you in all of our ways. We thank you for it all right now. In your darling Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, at this time for our Pledge of Allegiance, all veterans and active military, please render the proper salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move into the approval of our minutes, I want to address several emails that I've received. Moving forward at this time, I would like to publicly say that I'm asking each person in this room tonight to please govern yourself accordingly. Please respect each person that is here. Respect is earned and is not given. I'm asking everyone not to down talk to anyone. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Could I get a motion for the approval of our September 27, 2020 minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, with our first presentation, Face-to-Face Enrichment Center. Good evening.
Well, first of all, thank y'all so much for having us. My name is Gabby Johnson. I'm the founder of Face-to-Face Enrichment Center. This is Shenny Payton. She's the director of the Hammond location. So we have 2 locations now. We're based out of, based out of Baton Rouge and Hammond, and we're about to open up an office in New Orleans. So basically what we do, we provide services for at-risk kids. So we have 2 programs that we offer here in Hammond. One is a mentoring program, and that's for kids ages 10 to 18, and we connect them with positive adult role models. We have another program for kids ages 14 to 18, and with that program, they receive life skills training and tutoring. And we're funded by the Office of Juvenile Justice. We've been in Hammond since 2011, and we see the difference that we're making. We see, like, the kids come there at first, they're kind of sheltered. A lot of them have gone through a lot of our kids have gone through sexual abuse or some kind of trauma. And once we connect them with those positive role models, like, we see the difference that we're making. So, yeah, we love what we do, and we just came here to tell y'all about the programs we offer.
Question for you. Is this like a big brother, big sister type?
It's similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar.
And where are you guys located?
So we're located at 1524 Club Deluxe.
Okay.
West Club Deluxe.
I see your website here.
Yeah.
You have a nice website.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, one other thing. You said mentoring. You said first an age group, and then you said another age group of 14
Yeah,
to
so the
18.
mentoring is 14 to 18. And then the second program is a diversion program, and that's kids ages 14 to 18. Did I say it right? I got it, no, the mentoring is 10 to 18, I'm sorry, and diversion is 14 to 18.
What does diversion
And they
mean?
receive life skills training and tutoring with that program.
Are people referred to you guys for the diversion
Yeah,
program?
yeah, OJJ, the community, we take any kids, their choices, counseling agencies, we have a lot of community partners that send kids to us.
And have y'all reached out to Fins with the City Court of
We
Hammond?
partner with FINS.
Perfect.
Yeah, we do.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have a card or anything, or
Yes, I do.
brochures? Yeah, that'd be great, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Hi there. Thank you.
Sounds like a great benefit to our community. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for telling us about it,
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have one more presentation to make, a certificate of recognition. And the certificate of recognition is hereby presented to Olivia Bender in recognition of her promotion to cadet with the Hammond High Magnet Army JROTC program. She has demonstrated leadership potential and dedicated service in loyalty, duty, respect, self-service, honor, integrity, personal courage, and professional excellence at the Hammond High Magnet School. Presented to you today, September the 11th, 2022, Hammond City Council District 1. At this time, they have another presentation that they would like to make. Good evening. Good evening. My name is First Class Retired Taylor. I'm the instructor of the Hammond High School GROTC program, where our mission is to motivate young people to be better citizens. It does me great honor to recognize and to see Olivia Bender, our battalion commander, who is our #1 leader at our program, be honored in the community, where the community sees what our young people are doing and recognize them. I just also want to piggyback on that to give her another award, to honor her as well with our Superior Cadet Award. And what this is every, what we call a let level, we have, instead of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, every year that a kid is a part of the program, that's a part of the leadership, education, and training. So and we only give that award to one cadet per let level. So she's receiving this award from her second year in the program. So this is a surprise to her. She don't know that she's receiving it. And just to read the citation, it says, Department of the Army, citation for Superior Junior Cadet Decoration Award, Olivia Bender, is hereby awarded the Superior Junior Cadet Decoration as the outstanding cadet in the class for academic year 2021-2022 by direction of the Secretary of the Army, Derek L. Taylor, Star First Class Retired, Army Instructor, Hammond High Magnet School. It gives me great pleasure to award this. And Dad is going to do the honors of pinning you with your
Congratulations.
I say when they reached out to me at the school about this the other day when I made contact with Miss Bender, when she was standing in my room before she left out, I asked her who was her father. And when she told me, I said, wow, it's a small world. Your dad is my classmate. And your grandparents was my teacher. And Miss Bender sitting right out there. It was a small, small, small world. Congratulations again. All right. Final adoption of ordinance, none. Resolution number 1.
A resolution to appoint Kyle Johnson to the Hammond Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board for a 3-year term ending on July 29, 2025. Council President Andrews.
Okay, Kyle Johnson is being recommended to the Hammond Municipal Fire and Police Service Board. We followed the process that was given to us through the university. The information that they sent back to us showed that he was qualified for the position. He accepted the challenge for the position. He has a Bachelor of Science from the Louisiana State University. He's also a local graduate here of the St. Thomas Aquinas Regional High School. Also, Mr. Johnson also is a resident in District 1. And Mr. Johnson is here. If he could come up.
Kyle Johnson, 516 Pinecrest Drive, Hammond, Louisiana, 70401. I accept the position if y'all want to have me do that.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the public have any questions or comments at this time? Anyone from the council?
Thank you, Ms. Lisa, for sending the letter so we could do the process properly. Kyle, thank you for coming twice to the meetings.
Happy to do it.
And particularly, thank you for being willing to serve on this board.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Pleasure of the council.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Wells.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Resolution number 2.
A resolution to ratify and award bids for sewer rehabilitation FY 2022-23. Chuck Spengler.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
Good evening.
You should have hyperlinked some bid results. I can give you a preview of what the project involves if you'd like, or however you want to handle it. So what you have looks like this. Devon's got the right page, I believe, there. We had 6 bidders. The budget was $2 million. We had one person under our $2 million budget and one very close. I really thought we were going to run over budget because of the price of everything, but we got fortunate. We got a local contractor, S&P Liner, that has done, excuse me, did work for us about 1.5 years ago, and they were very competitive, probably because they're close. We're doing about 5 miles of lining. Well, first of all, do you want to know the areas, or do you know the areas? Does everybody know them?
Please, you can say the area for everybody, for the rest of the
We're
people that don't
basically
know.
taking from Mooney west, and then we're going around, sweeping around the sort of the perimeter of Hammond that had never been tested. We're going all the way around to Kip's district, very little of which was ever rehabbed back in the 2009 or 10 when this started. Then going back out 190 and taking some areas that had never been rehabbed. And then we're going south down by Club the Lux, South Morrison Boulevard, down by the hospital. These sewers were put in the 2000s and were never investigated for leaks. And we found quite a few, and I did send you an email. Here's are the maps. If you hadn't got a chance, take a look. It tells you exactly where the work is being done. And in the back of my specifications, I'll be glad to give you these lists. And I'll show you why I don't give them to you tonight. We have 8 pages that look like this, where every leak was identified categorized, rated, and we either associate it with the rehab scope or we didn't if it wasn't a bad leak. And the leaks are rated from 5 to 1, 5 being the worst, 1 being they're leaking, but they're not a bad leak. And we're rehabbing all the 5s, 4s, and 3s that we're encountering. There'll be a second run of this, which will occur in the beginning of the year, where we'll start another SSES. It'll take basically the heart of Hammond, so it'll take from Mooney east to Range Road and from Thomas Street south to the city limits. So the heart of Hammond, which is what Mayor Foster did in 2011, it was done, but it's been 11 years, and then more than likely we have new leaks that have shown up. Well, I know we do because we get calls. That'll be our next phase. We'll use, it's already in the budget for this coming fiscal year, to use the rest of our ARPA monies to do the rest of the rehab. So this is the first phase of a rehab, which follows the first phase of an SSES. I do recommend award, and I'll be glad to answer any questions or talk to you about any of these.
I just want to ask Chuck, when we went over this in the budget, I think you kind of described it as four sections, pretty much. Like 400,000 would probably do one, 800 would
We've done
probably
two
be
of them.
two. So the 800, 2 phases, 2 sections pretty much have been completed with the 800,000. This would be another.
This will be the last two. Because we
Okay.
have 700 in the budget. And with
Okay.
our budget now for SSES, if we combine it into one big SSES, we can do it in one contract. So we'll finish the city up.
The whole city. So the
We'll
first
finish the
two,
city up on the survey side,
Yeah.
not the rehab side.
yeah, just surveying, finding all the leaks.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So
That's
first
correct.
2 phases and next two
It'll probably take them
sections.
6 months or so, but
Okay.
we'll know next year early where are the rest of the problems. And it'll basically be the heart, what Mayor Foster called back in those days, Old Hammond, that's what he called it when we did it. The DEQ revolving loan money.
So y'all start repairing the ones that have been found on those leaks, and during that time, start surveying the other
That's
2
correct.
sections.
2 separate contracts.
Yes,
That's correct.
okay.
All be going on at the same time.
Now, when you say Mooney, explain to me when you say Mooney, because I keep hearing you say Mooney Avenue. And you know when you say Mooney Avenue, you're going to catch my attention. So you saying Mooney Avenue going east, right?
The current contract is from Mooney West.
Mooney West.
That'll include right where you live, it'll include Mooney Park, it'll include Mississippi, all the other streets in there. The next contract will be from Mooney East, which will basically take care of J.W. Davis and Phoenix Square and on across the middle of town. So the current contract that we have, the rehab contract they have, only handles from Mooney to Morrison.
Okay, from Mooney to
That's in
Mars.
this current contract, yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's on the maps.
Yeah, because somebody had reached out to me Sunday on J.W. Davis. They having issues with the sewer, and we know it's been dry. So
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
no, not at all. So I was just wondering what was going on. So we doing all of Mooney, right? From Mooney going west to Morrison.
That's correct.
Okay.
This map's up here. The leaks that we have, there's probably 30 or 40 of them. I don't know how many there are, but they're on the maps. And they're in this list. They will be fixed. Be
Okay.
repaired. And I'm relaying a segment of line, which I think I've talked to you about once before, that goes behind Pear Street.
Yeah, we had.
I'm relaying that segment. There's a map up here that in sheet 7. I'm just gonna relay that line because they can't fix it. There's no repair. It's choked down so bad with grease, they can't get a line through it. So we're gonna dig it up and relay a brand-new 12-inch sewer line so it'll flow freely and it won't block off and spill out over the manholes.
Okay.
That's gonna be relayed in its entirety. We'll cross Carbon, we'll tear up Carbon, unfortunately, but I can't get across Carbon without tearing it up. And we'll cross the canal, and we'll go on down the back of the canal with a brand-new sewer line.
Okay, so Carbon, so we talking about the top of Carbon to Pear Street, right?
Yes.
Reed Street.
Yes, Reed Street, I'm sorry, Reed Street.
Yeah, go
Older
down,
Reed.
so we're going all the way down Reed Street.
We're crossing Carbon to the place where the choked line stops, which is about 50 feet south of Carbon. So we'll relay from, you know where the check cashing place is?
Yes,
From the check cashing place across the canal in a steel casing, we'll put a brand-new line. Because we believe that the canal is flushing that line and making that line leak. We're going to put a steel casing around it. We're going to lay a line through it. We're going to put a new manhole, cross carbon. We're going to go about 100 feet south to where the camera shows we can fix it without doing a brand-new open cut. It's called open cut, where you get a backhoe and they dig the trench and they lay a line like it's a brand-new subdivision. So that line work will be done in this contract that you're discussing tonight.
Okay.
We're doing about 300 point repairs. We're doing about 5 miles of sewer. We investigated about 25 miles. So we have about another 60 miles left to go, or a little less, about 50 miles left to go. And we'll probably have, and this is a bigger job next year. It's a little bit bigger than this one. It's 2.7 million instead of 2 million.
And these repairs will take about 6 months?
They have 300
or
days.
300 days, yeah, okay, all right.
They
pretty
may do
much
it
a
quicker. According to
Yeah.
the contractor, he's going to put 2 point repair crews and 1 lining crew. He'll do it in 4 or 5 months if he does it that way. So you see the results of 6 bidders. The low bidders got a numbers S&P liner. I recommend award to the low bid in the amount of S&P liner LLC, $1,990,911.
Chuck, this is money that came from the federal government that,
It's ARPA money that you
Right.
appropriated last
Right.
May when we got the money, yes.
Any questions from anyone in the public?
South where? On which street? It's going, I'm not sure which street. We're going all the way to Club Lux Road.
Okay.
So it depends on where you're talking. Here are the maps. So if you're talking about Marshall, we're gonna go all the way down across Club Lux down by the Kubota place. Let me see if I can find the map on here.
So while you're finding, I just have one question. Tracy Wells, Mooney Avenue. Is any of this duplicated work from when the grant was given from the community block? So what type of work was done with that grant?
Same type of work, but we didn't incorporate as high priority on the repair items. The 5s and 4s were repaired, but none of the 3s. Now we're going back and getting all the 3s, and we found a couple more 5s that have occurred since 2018.
So there was repeat leaks from what was already done?
New leaks, but they're not far away.
Okay.
See, this is Club of Lux, so all the sewer down here is going to be there. The sewer professional clause is going to be there. Some of the sewer going to our buildings. So when you say how far south, we're going south all the way to the hospital.
I'm just, I just have a question. I'm sorry, Ron Matthews, 905 Delmar. This is really good news. Preventive maintenance in sewer system is great. I have a project in Jackson, Mississippi is on permanent hold right now because of infrastructure. The nation knows what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi. But the one question I do have, when you mentioned about the grease, do you think we're having a problem with some of the quick service restaurants and their grease traps?
Absolutely.
And I guess the question is do we need to go through the health department to get them to inspect that? Or is that the city does any type of inspection on those grease traps? Because this is going to be a continual thing. Because the side you're talking about, we got Popeyes over there, then we got the other chicken place on the other corner. So maybe you can just kind of enlighten us on that.
I don't want to berate any of our fast food restaurants. They're all hardworking people.
I made a career in it.
But I know you did it a couple of times.
You used to work for me.
I know. The answer is a lot of our fast food restaurants were constructed without grease traps. There was no regulation for grease traps till about 2005. So anything that was here before 2005 has no grease trap. We don't have any retro laws. I don't even know if you could legally make somebody put in a grease trap after they've been in business 20 years. I'm not sure what the law is, but we now have a very strict grease trap resident. So anything that's been built in the last 5 years, I prepared a grease trap sizing sheet that shows you this is how big your grease trap. 500-gallon grease trap is no good. For instance, the steakhouse is an 8,000-gallon grease trap. It's humongous. It's 20 by 16. That's what you need to really get the grease out of our sewer. Otherwise, the grease gets into the sewer hot, and after it flows down a little ways and gets into the wet well, it cools off, coagulates and you have a grease blanket on top of some of our wet wells, sometimes they're they're a foot deep. They go in there and break it up with polymers and enzymes, and they scoop it out. So it is definitely a problem, no question about it.
Andre,
I don't know what the answer is.
Andre, when he made that comment, is there any legal right for somebody to come back if we're trying to update and upgrade our system, and we're putting a lot of money into it, if the grease traps aren't up to code or to the new regulations? I mean, there's no way you can look into that legally for,
Well, they would have to meet the requirements of the business when they opened.
yeah.
Now the question is if what they're doing now impacts some kind of public safety or public health, and that could be an avenue to address what they're doing if it's truly a condition that's creating a public safety hazard.
Chuck, the one thing I just add to it, we think that our code enforcement can get the local health department. I don't know if the state has any new regulations, anything. You're absolutely correct.
They do not,
Yeah.
but they won't, the health department, I don't hate to speak for the local authorities, but the health department says it's your problem to fix. We'll get the regulations, but you have to fix it. So I don't expect much help from the parish sanitary, and they got their hands full on remote sewer systems all over all these trailer parks and all these individual residents all over the north half of the parish where there's 5,000 individual sewer systems that aren't working. So they're not worried about our few little problems here, I don't think. I might be mistaken. I should speak for the health department.
So for like the Popeyes, that was there before 2005. They don't have a grease trap? I mean, I don't mean to single them out.
Very small,
So
way too small.
that's right there is where the clog is.
The mayor,
God knows pretty much what
You know where-
companies we have issues with, and they do have traps, but as you said, they're smaller. So getting them to upgrade is something that, needs to continuously be worked on, because when guy goes visits, it goes away for a while, and then people get careless and start throwing grease back down the drain. Wintertime's coming up when it's cold, coagulates, clogs up the lines completely. So it's just something that we're constantly dealing with, but God knows generally what the worst businesses are. So we'll have to look into what you think we may be able to do to get them to increase. I don't know of any business out there that doesn't have a grease trap.
The only thing I know we could possibly do is typically when a business of that sort starts to expand or enhance, starts spending money, just like with the ADA, when you spend so much money, you gotta come up to code with ADA. Department of Health has the same regulation.
We do that because we are actually working with a restaurant right now that is doing substantial renovations, and because they hit a certain value threshold, we are requiring them to upgrade their grease trap. So
We'll get to that with health. These are great things we're doing, Chuck and these guys are doing to fix these leaks as preventive maintenance. You'll have to spend money on preventive maintenance, but we have to.
can't see it.
You can't see the respect, can't see the payback, but we've got to start spending $10, $15, $20 million upgrading infrastructure just because of lack of this, and thank God we're doing this.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues, solution, that can prevent a lot of this here, is them getting the grease trap cleaned out. And so that's where water and sewer can do more regulating, having them to have it cleaned out, because you can have a grease trap, and if you don't ever get it cleaned out, it's not serving a purpose for the city. So that's something that the water and sewer department can stress on, regulating how often do they get it cleaned, because now that you're talking, we got a new place gonna be right on side of Popeyes, a chicken restaurant. So with that being said,
Probably the one you're working on, isn't it? Maybe the one she's working on, because I know they just started, didn't they?
it's actually a different location because, I mean,
Okay.
the one we're working on right now is a restaurant that's just doing renovations currently at their space. But that one is going to have to go through, because it's a new restaurant moving into a current space, they're going to have to go through the current sizing of grease traps. They don't get to be grandfathered in with the old sizing.
okay, and once again, making sure that they being cleaned out regularly. So that'll help out, because it look like the grease is starting in Sam District, but it's running over into District 3. So I think that's what we need to start working on, as far as getting them to clean them out more often, because I think that's what the problem coming in at. They're not being cleaned enough.
Do we regulate that through the building department right now? Or like, check in like the older systems, maybe, every year?
It would be Guy's department who would regulate it, and they usually at this point regulate it with problems. If a problem comes up, they go in and check, try to trace it back to which restaurant is creating the problem, and then trying to get them to fix the problem.
I don't think there's a routine inspection.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like for older systems, maybe.
It's manpower intensive, and I do agree, as Devon mentioned, that's worth looking into getting that handled.
Yeah.
Because we have hundreds of them.
Because like even when residential wise, when you got your private sewer systems, the only way to really regulate is whenever they change hands. I mean, that's the only way the parish really can, check into it. Every 4 years, they require a 500-gallon to be dumped out and changed. But commercial wise, I'm not too sure what the regulation.
Maybe once a week.
Yeah.
You need to clean it. Who knows?
Exactly. So
Mr. Andre, is there anything that we can come up with, an ordinance or something that we can have them regulated?
Yeah, sure. You can put an ordinance that requires certain cleaning out of grease traps. Having some. Sorry. Yes. You could pass an ordinance that would require cleaning out of grease traps at certain intervals.
Okay.
Probably ought to think about some punitive if they don't clean it out.
Yeah, there'd have to be a fine.
Because if they're not going to clean it out, was there got to be some kind of consequence?
Yeah. So is there something, Andre, that, I'm gonna say you and I, or the council members, that we can get together and kind of draw up something and have something that we can bring before the city?
Certainly, and I do want to consult with Guy to get an indication from him of where the problems are and how to address it. We have to get a handle on what the problems are to correctly address it. But yes, sir, I'm happy to work with that.
Yeah, something that we can start on soon, because I want to make sure if this ever come up again that I be dead and y'all be gone too, gone to heaven. So I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions? No problems.
Any other questions or comments from anyone from the public? Any other questions or comments from anyone on the council?
Yes, sir, I have a comment. Y'all keep talking about.
Could you come up to the mic, please?
Y'all keep talking about grease and cleaning it out. But it don't take but 6 seconds for that grease to get hard, stiff again. And you started running grease in there and it's piling up. So as much as you clean it, it's not going to serve anything.
Thank you, Mr. Otis.
That's when it says grease trap, that's what it's there for. It's there to trap the grease and not allow it into the system. When they fill up, the grease goes straight to the system. So it's a holding tank that allows the grease to go to the top, and the sewer goes under and comes up on the other side of a baffle. But when the grease gets pushed up onto the baffle, it's all in the system. So I think you need an inventory. That's not, you maybe can do that concurrent with the building, with the business permit. Give me your inventory of where your grease trap is and how big it is, and then you can maybe figure out how to do an investigation of how often they're cleaned. I don't know, that's just a start. It's a good
yeah,
start.
definitely, yeah.
All right. Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon? Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Resolution number 3.
A resolution accepting a $19,965 grant from the Edward Bourne Memorial Justice Assistance Grants Program to purchase portable radios for the Hammond Police Department, and 2, authorizing the mayor or his designee to complete and sign the related documents. Charles Borcher.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is
Good
one that we originally brought to the council back in July, on July 26th. And we were fortunate enough to receive our award notification recently, so we're asking the council to approve the acceptance of the award. There is no match requirement. These are federal dollars that were allocated annually based on crime statistics and demographics. Radios continue to be a high priority for the police department.
Any questions or comments from anyone in the public? Any questions or comments from anyone on the council? Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Wells.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles.
Charles?
Resolution number 4.
A resolution to authorize the purchase of 4 2023 Ram 1500 SSV cab, crew cab 4x4s for the police department from Community Motors LLC. Total cost $148,117.16. State contract 4400023795. Jan Swallow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Previously, we had come before the council asking for approval to purchase 4 F-150s for the police department. Once we placed that order, Ford kicked it out. They met their maximum of what they were accepting for that quota. They are leaving the state contract open. They may open the options up again before December, but the police department has found these Dodges, and they are wanting to move forward with the purchase of that. If this goes through tonight, we will cancel the PO for the F-150s and proceed with this order. So we're asking council's approval.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions or concerns? Any questions or concerns from the council?
What was the difference in the cost wise? Or is it the same?
We are actually saving money. For the police department, overall, we will save $9,826.84.
Okay.
Now, what are these used for? These,
This will be the first time I think the police department will be actually using trucks as per, I don't know if it's pursuits. What are they going to use the Dodge trucks for, do you know?
Good evening. It's 2 of the vehicles are going to be utilized for the training division. 1 of the vehicles are going to be utilized for the fleet. 2 for the training, 2 for the fleet division. We're starting to have to, like our tires, for instance, get shipped straight to the fleet division. Now we have to bring them to the dealership to get them put on, or local business people and so forth. And then the training division, they use it for, like, you know, stuff that we do with training and equipment and stuff like that.
And we'll be transferring the police cars to patrolmen.
Yeah, any of those guys that are assigned units right now, we'll put them in patrol as well. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And I think these vehicles, I think we're being told they're 90 to 120 days out or something like that.
That's the usual, they can take up to 7 months.
Thank you, Chief and Assistant Chief Angelo. Anyone else? Pleasure of the council.
motion to approve?
Second.
Councilman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Wells.
Aye.
Thank you, Jana. Resolution number 5.
A resolution to authorize the purchase of 2022 Ram 1500 Tradesman Quad Cab for the Street Department from Community Motors LLC. Total cost $35,713. Jana Swallow.
This is the same situation. The street department had came before y'all late August asking for approval for a truck that was approved in their budget. They did not accept that order also. The difference in this, we're not ordering off state contract. We received quotes. This truck is currently on the lot, so we will be able to get this truck as early as Thursday. So we're asking for council's approval to proceed with the order.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from anyone in the public? Could you step up to the microphone, sir? Please give us your name and address.
My name is Lynn Matthews, address 703 MC Moore Road. What are these vehicles being used for? Because he said for the use of, you know, training and stuff, but training could be anything.
Yeah, the first set was for the police department.
Okay.
Doing training, and then I know they supposed to haul some tires with 2 of the trucks. So,
Oh, tires?
It's in the training department. In other words, we have some police cars that are given out to these individuals in those departments. We're having trouble getting police cars. So what we're doing is we're going to allow them to use trucks because they're gathering whatever they need to get, using them in that department. They don't necessarily need the police car. So we're transferring these police cars that they may have into our patrol units because we have more patrolmen on streets now. We need cars, and we can't get cars through the manufacturers as quick as we would like to. So this is actually, a truck is, they can use a truck just as well as they can use a police car. And they're managing the training center out there, so it's not like they're on the street patrolling.
Oh, okay.
and so the last truck, the street department head said he want to get this truck for his right-hand man to watch the guys and stand over them. So that's what they're looking at the last truck about.
Yeah, so that truck is, equipment gets old. So if you're replacing a truck, like in that department, as Devon's saying, they're replacing a vehicle and they're replacing it with a truck.
So what happens to the truck that you replaced?
It goes to surplus or to a different department or to someone else that may be able to use it. But usually it goes to surplus.
So it doesn't go to auction?
That's basically what surplus is. Jana will take it through the purchasing department, put it into surplus for an auction. You can tell them the process, Jana.
Once they surplus the vehicle, we'll come back before council and ask for approval to sell it on govdeals.com. But this is a truck that needs to be replaced. They was actually wondering when we was ordering the F-150s if the truck would actually last until 7 or 9 months when it came in. So they was trying to figure out ulterior options that they would have in the instance that his truck didn't last. So the truck is needed.
For the street department, right?
Yes, sir.
For the right-hand man, as he said now, so this, I'm not saying this, as if for a right-hand man to ride in and watch over the workers.
Replacing a truck that it's being used now.
Yeah, all of us ain't gonna talk at one time, please.
All I can do tell you is for the assistant street department director, so I really don't know the actual description of his job duties.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone in the public?
Somebody coming up behind you.
My name is Jacqueline Taylor, 809 South Chestnut, Hammond, Louisiana. Y'all talking about cars and stuff. Through the years since I've been back in Hammond, I've seen a lot of cars, police cars, parked at their house. And the purpose of police cars is to, you do your work. They just be parked there, you got a car over there by Southeastern, by the dollar store on the main road where they got a donuts place there. That car been parked there, I've been watching that car. Just parked there, okay? We pay taxes and stuff. And a lot of times, like I said, police cars are parked at their house, they supposed to be used. They just leave cars at their house and not using them. It's all right to get cars for the purpose of driving around and doing your work, but just having a car parked at your house and not no work being done. I've seen it too many times. And this is what's taking place is we paying taxes and tax money for gas, and police just got their cars at their house.
These police officers working a 12-hour shift. I'm sure when it's at their house, they're sleeping or maybe they're off.
No, this car been parked up a while, haven't been moved. Because I've been looking at it right over there by Southeast, and you could take an interview and go over there and see too. And I've seen cars right over here. What street is on, Pastor Bell, a church used to, Pastor Bell Church there, a car used to be parked over there. I take interview of my city.
Yeah, he's retired now.
But before he retired, he had a car parked there.
Correct. He works, he goes home. They take the vehicles home. When they wake up and they need to go back to their shift, they get in their car and they go back to the shift.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You got somebody else.
Denise Haynes, 43502 Robinson. What is an adequate number of police cars that are needed? Because it's a repetitive thing coming back up. What is an adequate number? Because we're constantly saying you guys are voting on them, and they're constantly coming up saying that you need them, so where's the minus? Because it keeps coming back up.
Well, the one that
Purchasing vehicles, and where does the surplus money go?
goes back into the budget. Angela, you want to come on up here and talk about your vehicles and how much you use them and how much abuse they take on the roads and wear and tear?
I think our fleet is somewhere around 85, 88 vehicles. That's how many post-certified police officers we have. Every post-certified police officer issued a unit. The units that we just spoke of a little earlier are going to post-certified officers, but they do not work the road. They work in the training division. They work in the fleet division. So as y'all know, we've had trouble getting cars. And so we kind of getting whatever's available and then taking the cars that these officers have, putting those on the street. So they take the cars home. So if someone sees a car parked at a house, it's like the mayor said, they're probably off. I know when I'm home, it's parked at my house when I'm off. I don't use it for anything other than duty. We don't use our vehicles off duty. I don't know about the car on University that the lady's speaking of. I'm wondering if that's maybe that black SUV that's got the blue tape on it. That person's not an officer of the Hammond Police Department. I don't know if they work for another agency or not. I know it's kind of like support back to blue type of vehicle. I don't personally know the person. But we don't issue vehicles to anybody other than post-certified officers. Our office personnel and all doesn't have units. There's only one person that does.
To answer her question, though, could you speak to, we order a certain amount every year.
Well,
You try to, and then there's been a backlog.
Well, what
So if you could
happened, we
address
initially
that.
had, as y'all know, we had about probably 17 or so SUVs ordered. And then they called us and notified us and said, hey, by the way, we cut y'all X amount of vehicles. Now you're down to 13 vehicles. So now it's kind of like just go out there and find what you can. And so the pickup trucks seem to be available a lot sooner than the SUVs. We still are waiting on the SUVs. We really don't know when they're coming in. And I guess something's got to do with the chips on them, but we don't really know when they're coming. We just know that right now they tell us we got 13. They'll have a call again next week and say you got 10, you know, because everybody's scratching. And then you don't order the equipment till you get the cars. Then that's another waiting process because you get the cars, then you got to see what year model you've got, see what you've got, and then you got to order the equipment. Now that's another waiting period. I know the vehicle that I currently drive right now was received in July. I was given the car the end of November. So I don't have the answer to how many we're going to get, when we're going to get them. The only thing we know is we try to get as many as we can through the millage. Sometimes that's 10, sometimes more, but with the increase of officers, they'll give us 4 additional officers in this next budget or the current budget. And so we have to, that's 4 additional vehicles that we don't have that we have to get. And then through this pandemic and everything with the cars, when we take one out of service, we really don't have anything to put back in, replace it. So that's kind of where we're at. We just trying to do what we can to piece them together and keep it going. I don't know if that answers the question, but.
Okay, so police cars going to their house. You got certain police, the chief, or who, they got certain police that can take their cars to their house. I thought if you work on a job, and if it's a law, you work on a job, when the police get out, the police cars supposed to be placed right at the police department. They allowed to take their cars home, or you got certain police allowed to take their cars home. Mayor, answer that.
Yes, they all take their cars home.
All the police that work for the city of Hammond, they allowed to take their police car home. All right, thank you.
Steve Jackson, 36 Clinton Court. Okay, about the vehicle for the city, and you're saying it's being used for what?
I wish he was here. He's not here tonight. He said he wanted a vehicle for his right-hand man to go watch the workers, to ride around and watch the workers. That's what he said now. I'm not saying this.
So the right-hand man,
So Steve,
Special.
the right-hand man is the assistant director of that department. That's you can call him the number 2, you can call him his right-hand man, but he's the gentleman. If he's on vacation or he's out, he's the man who runs that department. So the number 2 man, needed a vehicle. His vehicle was worn down. That's why that vehicle is being purchased.
okay, but what's wrong with all the other vehicles that they're swapping out? Why can't he just get one of those? I mean, you don't need a brand-new vehicle just to ride around and watch someone.
It's part of his job. He's carrying things as well, I'm sure. We have other vehicles that people use.
I understand that, but I'm saying they don't have to be brand new.
We don't want to buy used vehicles. Why would you want to buy a used vehicle?
I'm saying, and you saying you buying new vehicles and you getting rid of some, so the ones that you're getting rid of, why not give it to the people that just riding around overseeing someone?
We don't get rid of a vehicle until it is so old, so many miles, or so beat up. So we generally do that. But if the vehicle is in bad shape and Janet declares that it needs to go to surplus, well, then that's what we're generally doing.
Okay, well, another thing, on the police cars, you're saying that all the police cars, which I understand that have take-home cars, but all the officers that's staying out of town, they're taking city cars out of town to their homes, and we're paying taxes on those cars. And not only that, I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all fueling them up every day in order for them to get back and forth to the city of Hammond.
Fueling them up and maintaining them as well.
Exactly. So, but they're not paying taxes here. They're just working here. So why are they privileged to take home vehicles and they're not a part of the city?
They're serving and protecting the city.
Okay, but they drive their own vehicles. Why they can't drive them here to get in the vehicles to do the job?
Because that's not the way it's set up in the city.
Okay. When I was in law enforcement, I worked for Ponchatoula. They didn't give me a take-home vehicle. I used to have to drive my vehicle, personal vehicle, to Ponchatoula to get in their unit.
Correct.
Because I didn't live inside the city of Ponchatoula.
Correct.
I see a lot of these vehicles in Baton Rouge, all over. So I just feel like the taxpayers are paying for people to commute back and forth, even though you're saying, you know, they're protected and serving, but we're still the one paying for those vehicles.
City of Kenner does the same thing as you're talking about.
We're not in the city of Kenner.
They do what you're talking about, Steve. They keep the cars there. The police officers come and go to the vehicle at the city. So there are some places that do it one way. We do it another.
Okay, but I just don't feel like the taxpayers should be funding people to come in and work. I mean, we already paying them, so why should we get them cars and stuff to take home out of the city?
Duly noted.
All right.
I think that was something good that you brought up. Even in New Orleans, they was doing it at one time. The officers had to leave the cars at the station. But I don't think our station is big enough to leave no 85 cars parked there. And if everybody stayed in Hammond, and that's something that probably need to be looked into down in the future, that you probably do need to stay in Hammond if you're gonna drive the car and protect and patrol Hammond. But anytime we say something about the police department, we really have to be careful because there's consequences behind it. So you cannot say nothing about the police department in Hammond. Finish.
All right. Ms. Lisa, could we call for a vote?
Thank you, Janet.
Yeah, motion. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
It's number 5 that we voting on, huh? For the right-hand man to get a vehicle to ride around in, right? No.
All right, reports, Mayor?
We're currently looking good on our budget. We're $163,000 over budget for the year. Sales tax.
Any other council reports?
I just want to state, I'd like to see, I think Bobby was here, but we talked earlier, but the demolition list, it was supposed to be on, I think, October 11th, but I just want to make sure that, yeah, Bobby, you can come up here if you'd like. Yeah, thank you. I think some of them he might be able to expedite a little bit that has already gone through the process. There's a long list of probably about 8 or 10. Speaking from my district, there's a couple of them on Barnes and then Anderson. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I would like for mine, because I'm familiar with those. I would like to see those on the agenda next meeting, if they're checked out by Andre, and the rest of the list and the council, if they would like theirs as well too. I mean, that they need to look at it.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah, we had spoke with Councilman earlier, Devateria, and he's correct. There were several locations that had already been confirmed. The ownership had been confirmed, and so we should be able to expedite those for the next upcoming meeting. I'm going to have to verify the addresses and ownership with Andre to make sure they're the same as they were. But we should probably get those notices out, as I was telling you in email, by this week, and hopefully get those scheduled for the next meeting 2 weeks away.
Do you have any in District 3?
I have some on the list, but I don't think by ownership clarification, we need to verify those, so they'll probably make the November group. 601 Washington was one of those in District 3. We have a couple on Natchez as well, and Harold Street.
And what about Mooney Avenue? They got 2 on Mooney Avenue that we've been looking at for the longest.
Would that be 601 is one of those? Kind of Mooney and Maryland, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. And then we have the trailers on Mooney Avenue.
On the list I got 2707 Anderson, 1508 Natchez, 1510 Natchez, 704 Barnes, 1015 Blackburn, 101 Perry Lane, 117 Perry Lane, 1309 Harold, 503 Second Avenue, and 601 Washington Avenue. And there was a concern of I think a 70 something and a half on Barnes.
711 and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Barnes, yeah. This email was sent a few weeks back, so it wasn't updated currently today. So we're always panning lists that may, increase in number, particularly after we get fires and deterioration, as Councilman Will is talking about. With the trailers on Mooney, are you familiar with the address, maybe the address number? Is it south of Mississippi or?
Yeah, south of Mississippi, right past Bonnedo Lane. The 2 trailers that never been put together.
Oh, that's a portable building?
Yes.
That was put in for the purpose of supposedly a church?
Yeah, church, yes.
Yeah, I'll have to get with the building department to see how they want to handle that. That wouldn't classify as a demolition situation. That was a placement that wasn't approved and still pending.
How many years it's been since it's pending? Huh?
Again, that's a building department situation. It's not a code enforcement situation. I'll pass that on and see. I actually don't know how many years. It's been quite some time. More than 2, that's for sure.
Yeah, can we say about 25?
I think that would be exaggerating.
Okay, that's why I'm asking you to give a number. Now, I know when they was there now.
Yeah.
So I just want you to give a number. We ain't gonna say no 2. We ain't
I'm
gonna say
not
no
sure.
8.
You know the exact number of years.
Yeah,
You could
let's say
tell
20
me.
years. So it's still pending after 20 years, and the trailer's still sitting there. Yeah, so let's give a number. We're not gonna say no 2 because that don't sound good.
No, I say more than 2. I think
Yeah.
20 is exaggeratory too. I don't think it's been 20. I've been with the city 29. I can't say it's been there that long.
Okay, so y'all got a record of it. I'm not gonna sit here and go back and forth with you, but you have a record when they got here and when it was pending, right? Because we can go back, we can go and look at the facts. We don't have to just throw a number out there. We can look at the facts. So if you say it's still pending, and so I'm gonna go on according to you all record, and you said it's more than 2, and I'm saying it's about 20 years. Yep, I was a member at that church, so I do know, but I'm gonna go by your record. So now you're gonna make me get up in the morning and go to the building permit office.
Find out exactly how.
Yeah, and find out exactly.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah, but it is a great idea for me to have to work behind somebody that should have a number when they come before us. You're right, it is a great idea.
Bobby, you said sending letters, you should be able to get them on this next agenda. Have the original letters been sent, or this is
No,
just
this-
the notice of, hey, your meeting is coming up? Because I know there's one that I think you're aware of in my district that since July we've been talking about, and I thought it was coming in August and then September and now October.
Well,
It's
this is not a, I don't want to, in totality, this entire list would not be submitted.
Mhm.
I have to confirm the ownerships of the 2 that I was speaking in terms of District 4. Those were validated today as locations that we had previously researched ownership on.
Mhm.
And so I'm comfortable in saying that after confirmation with the city attorney that we could probably get those. I don't want to promise others that may or may not come, because there are proper notifications that are required prior to.
I have a constituent that has been calling since July. I need to know when that's
You know
coming.
what address that is?
Yes, we'll talk afterwards.
And what about the ones in Whitmore and Woodbridge? Any news on those?
The 12, I understand to be the most concerned, 12 Lynn Drive, if I'm correct, White Drive, yeah. I understand that gentleman had started doing some preventive repairs on the structure. As of yet, I'm not sure what the structural procedure would be on that to qualify. But we can research it.
And the ones that was damaged by Ida in Woodbridge?
That's a tough situation there, Councilman. We're looking at properties all over the city and all the districts that were either damaged, and people are still dealing with insurance situations. So whenever we get those reports from the owners to say that they have insurance troubles with insurance companies complying with paying their insurance rates and reimbursing them for the damages, that's a tough one.
Do you require proof of this going back and forth? Because it does take, sometimes it takes a year to get that, but if someone just says, hey, we're working on it, I mean.
Well, I mean, I can't verify whether or not they're having a problem with the insurance company. If they've contacted the insurance companies, I would have to request.
Right, but if we were more aggressive, saying, I'm sorry, this is coming to the council, if you don't want it to go to the council, you need to be able to show us that something is working. I mean, we're not aggressive on this, obviously.
Well, what I'm saying is, Council Lady, is that when you have structures that are not 50% damage, they are concerned that they need something done. There's a property maintenance code book that has not been adopted by the city that would actually do a random inspection annually that would force repairs. But
Let's do that.
it's
Never heard of that
excruciating.
before.
It's very. I've shared it with several when they ask of possibilities of attacking them from a different approach as opposed to demolition, which would force repairs. But then you get into court proceedings and continuances and everything else. So that's a pretty. I think that may be why it was selectively approved by only a portion of that book, because it would be pretty difficult to.
What was the name of that book?
It's Property Maintenance Code. It's an ICC, International Code Council book.
Okay.
And I get
2007 is the year that it was generated.
Okay.
I guess my little, I was just, I'm trying to be as nice as possible with it. I'm just trying to understand, like mine, the one in my district, they didn't have any storm damage. It's been coming up for a while now, probably a couple of years now, discussed about it, or a few. And, was that an issue with ownership or someone on Anderson or on Anderson Street, or what was, that one has that one, nobody's been working on that, so.
No. We submitted, in the last 4 months, 11 locations to city council. So it takes with the secretary, it takes a lot of notifications, and we have to notify any and all possible owners. Just for an example, the last meeting I was attending, I think you all remember the lucrative amount of owners that were read off as a result of notifying any and all owners. I think one particular location had probably 12 different owners. And so that's 12 times 2 of notices that are sent out for just the initial service to come to council. After that, after the 30-day time frame that's mandated by the state, we have to send out notice to comply for commencement time frames. Then we send those after they're approved for demolition. We have to send other notices to the clerk of court by the same notice. So these owners are notified 3 different times per location. That's pretty lengthy process. And demolition is not the only thing that we do in code enforcement. So we have one assistant that does all the mailings. And if we don't get the proper notification, we start over. So that's why it's carefully selected as to when to send them and how to. We have these groups that were submitted, I think it was maybe a month ago, that we were suggesting that we would probably get these on the 11th of October. Those were due to the time frame of the other notices that were done. And we had an oversight on a couple of them, but yeah, we have 3 field guys and abandoned vehicles, tall grass, sightly dumpsters. We're understaffed. So, and I'm the only one that submit demolition.
So the one on Wells, the one on Washington Avenue, I see some work been going on. The one on Washington Avenue, you know which one I'm talking
601.
about? Yeah. I see some work going on, but the problem is the neighbors, the community, those are the ones that have to deal with the rats that's coming from the house. You done been to the house before?
Quite a few times.
Yeah, so, and look like each councilman having the same issues. I don't stay by none of the houses, but the constituents that stay by the houses, those the ones are complaining about it. And you come up here, and it's like we don't have a solution. Now, I got a solution now, but I'm gonna have to sit down and talk to Andre, but I can't keep solving all the problems. They dealing with rats every day coming off of Washington Avenue. I don't have to deal with it, but the neighbors have to deal with it.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So are the other locations that we're dealing with, which is why we're trying to get as many torn down as possible.
And I understand the whole legal process with ownership and all, but I just, some of them I don't think have that issue, and, with that. And if it does in 3 years, I think it should be done. So I just, I'd like to see it a little more. And if there's problems, in employment or whatnot, maybe we need to talk about it and find out, and figure out the problem. I know other cities do it, expeditedly or a little fast, and I'm not saying y'all don't work fast. It's just that, some of it, gets a little frustrating on a certain ones that haven't been touched in a long time, and we have the money there, so the money's there for the demo. Just that I'd like to see a little more done, where it cleans up some of these neighborhoods and helps the residents out with crime. Just random people staying in the houses and doing illegal activities. So it would just help out a lot of them. So anything that we can do as council to help out, I'm pretty sure, I know I'm all for it, and I'm pretty sure everybody else would be for cleaning up the city and these demo houses, that to help you expedite them. So
just keep in mind, council members, that when a house comes to you, it has to be a fair assessment. It has to be verified that the house is structurally damaged, not aesthetically curb appeal. It has to have its qualities, its structural qualities has to be compromised in order for us to legally submit it to you to say that it's no longer occupable occupiable and has to be torn down. So that's, I think sometimes we're getting into structures that are really not qualifying as demolition, and that's a police matter. If someone has loitering, trespassing going on, that's why the police department is more than willing to come and, arrest those that are trespassing.
Mr. Mitchell, I have, and I'll get with you on it, I have some properties of concern in the Grace Quarter area as well, but I'll get with you on that personally.
Thank you, Bobby.
Just email us anytime. We have 3 of us in the field, and we're more than happy to do what we can.
Well, y'all doing a good job, man, on keeping that grass cut. I tell you, it looks a lot better.
Thank you. Yeah, Joey and Kiefer, they're on it.
Yeah, the grass is, doing a real good job with it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So now they get a break now since winter done took place.
I knew you had another comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council reports?
Yes, I do. I have some constituents in the audience. Would y'all like to come up?
My name is Robert Devance at 100 White Street. Come to raise 3 issues of concern for the city. One, the price of the garbage, the new contract on the garbage, which is costing us from $1.4 million to $2 million. Point number 2, the unclean water. The monies that we're spending on the garbage, we could use that in areas to clean the water. The last water report that we had, pregnant women and babies couldn't drink it. Anyone else was to drink it, we had to boil it. So therefore, that is a major issue for our city. And the inflation of the garbage bill is outrageous for some of the senior citizens that's already retired and some that's on a fixed income. Point number 3, the infrastructure of the plumbing. In all 3 angles, it causes us citizens to go out and buy bottles of water to compensate for the contaminated water. The garbage is higher. That costs us on the garbage. And the sewer, we have to continue to call a plumber to fix a sewer line when it's on the city behalf. So therefore, per household, it's rarely costing us an extra $1,000 a year just because of the bad situation and choices being made here in the city. If we can bring a resolution, put it on the board, and find a resolution to fix the contaminated water and go back to the contract that we breached that has a remaining 2 years on it.
Where are you experiencing contaminated water?
The water report came out a few months ago.
That's on our city website, yes.
Correct. That's my main interest. The contaminated water was barely passing inspection for us to even drink.
That's not true according to the limits that are on the report.
Okay. The report that I received in the mail, it advised us that pregnant women and babies should not drink the water, and if you're going to drink the water, to boil it. It was barely to the point of human consumption.
That's not on this notice. I don't know what you're speaking about. Now,
I'm speaking
on
of
occasion,
the letter that I received in the mail.
So on occasion, there might be a boil advisory that's issued when a line breaks, and that boil advisory is issued because there's a drop in that water pressure, or they have to turn off the water altogether.
Okay.
And so that boil advisory is only going to be for as long as it takes to get samples back from the state that show that the water is clear and is safe to drink.
Okay, so we touched on that, but if we can keep up with our water not being contaminated.
Water is not contaminated.
Okay.
That's why I just want to make sure everybody knows the water is safe and good to drink.
Did you receive a letter in the mail about the contamination of the water, barely passing inspection? Women and babies can't drink it?
That's That's not true.
So I think what we
It
need
may
to
not be
do.
on your report, but it's most definitely true, because I have the letter at home.
I would really appreciate if you could bring that
Yeah,
letter to City
I
Hall, because
will. I will. I wouldn't be here
Yeah.
raising the issue if I hadn't read it myself.
well, we wouldn't be offering water
Okay.
that
Now,
wasn't
point-
safe to drink,
point-
so.
Point number two.
Yeah.
The outrageous inflation on the garbage disposal, to where it costs the city overall from 1.4 to $2 million on a contract where we have a garbage company renting trucks to even service us. What happened that we breached the contract with the other company?
We didn't breach a contract with the company. We had a company that had a price that had come to us. Mr. Bob Zabia, mayor of Ponchatoula, and I have been looking at companies since 2021 in case something happened with this particular company who has had issues with serving this city. They came in and they wanted to raise the rates on the water, on the sewer collection, because of a CPI, Consumer Price Index, saying that they could. So that being said, Mayor Zabia and I talked to the company, told them we were not going to pay them more for doing a bad service for the city. So they could have stayed where they were, but it wasn't going to increase with this particular company. So we had another company come in, which is the company that we have right now, that was at the same price that the city of Ponchatoula and Tangipahoa, I think it was Tangipahoa, has had with them. So that was brought to the council, and they wanted to go out for a request for proposal instead of taking that amount. So we went out for a request for proposal, and they came back, and everyone, Amwaste himself, came back at $23, which was higher than the company that we ended up taking on.
So,
Well, don't blame the council on that. He terminated agreement before it came to us. So the agreement was already terminated. There was no turning back because he terminated agreement beforehand. So
Correct.
what council didn't have any part in that. The decision was already made before we knew about it. So I just want to clarify that right there.
Yeah, and I accept all of the explanations, what have you, but the $2 million or the $1.4 million, I believe as a citizen, it would be best for the welfare and well-being of the city if we was to spend that money on sewer infrastructure and to have cleaner water.
We spent so far $14 million on sewer in the last 8 years, and we have another $5.5 million we're spending as we speak.
Well, it wasn't spent in my community. I can tell you that much.
And he's in District 3. I'm going to chime in. Sir, with the garbage, I could talk about that. The mayor, Hammond mayor, met with Ponchatoula mayor, and they come with agreement, but Ponchatoula still had the same service that Hammond had, so.
Correct.
But I didn't vote on it. I voted no, because I know the condition of District 3. But the garbage situation, Ponchatoula right now charging $5 and something extra. Hammond haven't really come up with nothing yet. So I do know that the garbage company and Ponchatoula lawyers got together and came up with an agreement for the constituents, but we haven't done it yet. On the sewer, and this was going on with the sewer issues. And this is what we having in District 3. People are paying to get the cameras to look in their lines and see what's going on. And it's running from $1,200 to $1,500. It all depends on how long the line is. So what he's saying is the citizens are actually eating the cost, and then once they find out, and this from the reliable companies that's coming doing it, once they find out that it's not their personal line, it's the city line. So the engineer just left here talking about the smoke in the lines and what the leaks are. So I'm learning a lot as I go.
Right.
So
great issue, because at my home at 100 White Street, I just spent $1,500 to get my plumbing redone, and come to find out it was on the city's behalf. The water leak at my house, when you can't fool with the water meter because it's tampering, I had a water leak bill outrageous. They say it's on my end, come check it, it's on the city's end. So again, the sewer, garbage, and water is costing us double as citizens here in this city. I mean, it's just unfair to us. We need to find a better solution.
And so, and everybody know, sewer was a bad word at one time until I got up here. And, we've been talking about it ever since. So now it turned out to be sewer not a bad word anymore. Now everybody talking about sewer. Even in the mail form, I heard everybody mention about the sewer. So the sewer is being worked on, but I can't tell you it's going to be fixed. And
from my own opinion here in this meeting, the money that we're spending on unnecessary police units, the money we're spending on unnecessary contracts, wherever it come from, that could be utilized in a better manner than it's being used in, that would be better for the welfare and the well-being of the citizens.
All right. Thank you, my man. Appreciate everything.
I was just reading, the overall utility bill would rise from $47.90 to $52.90. That's in Ponchatoula. Their rate only will change by a couple of dollars. Theirs stay the same across the board. So I think it was a bad comparison to do with them, because theirs never, I mean, if you're gonna compare with them, ours should be compared to theirs. Don't have all the increases that we have. So it was broken down. It went from $7.90 to $16.50 for the sewer department, $21.50 and $1 respectively. And the garbage collection rate would drop from $17.50 to $13. That's Ponchatoula.
I think it was said, though, and I'm going to say it again. The councilman didn't have nothing to do with it. The ball was dropped by the current mayor, and it brought before us, and then we had to vote on it. And I'm going to say it again. I voted no on the garbage rate, and I continue to vote no on the garbage rate, because it's something that we all should have talked about instead of one person making a decision on it.
All right. Any other council reports? All right.
That's it for me.
All right. Also, I'd like to bring this before the council as well. Our first meeting in November will actually fall on Election Day. However, the chamber is also used as a poll site. So I'm making a recommendation to cancel that meeting. I'll send out another few dates for us to look at to rearrange that date for another meeting.
And we usually, in the last couple of years, we've canceled the
Thanksgiving, right, yeah.
So if we just want to make sure that there's no meeting, and we don't want to have it without a meeting.
Right, yeah.
We will need one meeting in November, because that's typically when you renew the health insurance.
Right, yeah, and I'm gonna look at some dates, and I can send an email out for us to schedule that date. Also, I want to bring another thing up to the council as well. We will be looking at another appointment for the Civil Service Board as well. Another person on that board is coming to the end of their term, and if I'm not mistaken, that person is not seeking to remain a part of the board. So that'll be another appointment will be coming up soon.
They could be from us or who? Or the city as a whole?
That's the one that comes from Southeastern. They give a list, just like this last one.
Right. All right.
I'm Joshua Ketchens from 100 White Street, Hammond, Louisiana. My question was on the guy earlier. He was saying something about employment earlier. I was just wondering, how would you go about getting into the employment system as far as with Hammond? Because I know a lot of guys, they're leaving to go to Florida, to help out with Florida because they don't have jobs, and a lot of times they don't. It can be some type of way that employment can be built where it's easily accessible to a lot of these guys, because a lot of them are not working. So, some type of way that can encourage them to come out to want to work. For the city.
Okay.
Question on it.
I don't want, they can check the website,
Yep.
is one, and second, they can also check with the Human Resource Department.
So go to the website and under Government and then Human Resources, there's a direct link to all the jobs that are open right now, and we are hiring for a lot of different kinds of jobs.
Right.
Encourage people to go there every day.
I mean, as far as like, not me personally, but a lot of guys, may have little simple, different things going on in their situations that may prevent them from even trying to apply.
Tell them to apply, and then tell them to reach out to the HR department. They're over there right at Cherry and Robert Street.
Right.
We work through a lot of situations.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
210 East Robert.
And the guy just said the building permit office, they short of workers anyway, so they need some workers right there.
Okay.
I'm very concerned because I work in the school system and I love kids. I came up helping people raise their kids and stuff. We need to do something about this crime, Pete. There's a lot of stuff going on, all these young folks getting killed. We just had a young man, across town, he was what?
St. Paul Loop.
St. Paul Loop, 16 years old, Pete. They had a lot of guns they had to pick up from the young folks. We got to come to a solution. I love Hammond while I'm here, but I want to live, you know, every crime is everywhere. But we got to come up to a solution, what we're going to do about all this crime. It's getting bad. Right in Grace Square, it's bad. Young folks walking the street with guns, jackets and stuff, and we just got to do something. We got to come to a solution. What we're gonna do? How we gonna turn Hammond around with this crime? Because you know we got Southeastern out there, and people looking at they coming to Hammond, and parents sending their kids to Southeastern. All this crime going on. It's just a crime everywhere. But this place is kind of small compared to places like New Orleans, everything. And I think if we just get, you know, more police out, like for us getting funds and money and, you know, get more police out and more for us patrolling the neighborhoods and stuff like that, because it was a young folks party. And I believe they should have had a police, you know, there. If it was young folks there, you know, underage and drinking and stuff like that, they should have patrolling. Because if I'm gonna have a party, and I know young folks are gonna be there, first of all, I'm gonna let them know that you ain't bringing no drugs, you ain't bringing no alcohol to this party. And I'm gonna have a police patrolling. So we gotta have the government get things together for this city. Because my daughter, she's in Dallas, she graduated at 17 years old, she went to Delgado, now she in New Orleans, in Dallas now. My daughter said she don't even wanna come back to Hammond, because it's just too much stuff going on. Every time I say, you coming home? No, Mom, I wanna come home. You know, all these young folks I went to school with, they're not doing anything, crime, no rape. She don't even want me in Hammond. She want me to be in Dallas where she at, because she's scared for me.
Unfortunately, that particular location is right on the edge of Hammond. It's Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office handled that. It's right outside the city limits. It's a tragedy. It's something that's going on across the country. It's going on everywhere. We have 4 additional officers on each shift. We had approximately 7 officers on a shift. Now we got up to 11. We're aggressive on it. If we get called out, we'll help out the parish anywhere around us where we can help out. We're out there doing what we can do. We give our police officers equipment. We give them everything they need, and now we have personnel, and we've increased the pay for them thanks to the council. So we're out there doing what we can do.
Maybe they could get more funds in, you know, hire more policemen and stuff.
Thank you for your input.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackie, and I'm glad you brought that up. Really, that was number 1 on my list for his council report. Yes, we had a young man got shot, and it's something that, number 1, that we should be talking about, where the guns are coming from, because I read in the paper that the oldest kid was 18 years old. And if you got to be 21 to drink, how could a 16, a 17-year-old, a 18-year-old, where the guns are coming from? Because I know this here for a fact. In District 3, they don't have a gun manufacturer nowhere around. So the guns are coming in from somewhere, and it's not my child, but somebody else's child. and it's something that the city, yeah, it was out the city limits, but it's right there next to the city limit. And I spoke of this before, patrol, community policing, patrol. They need to be where the people can see them, not hiding behind the church, not hiding behind Jock Mail, Harper Metal Company. They need to be where the people can see them every day. That'll help reduce crime, and I know this for a fact. So we all need to pray for the families, for all the victims involved.
And we've been talking about work. I've been talking to a lot of parents and stuff. We was talking about where are these guns coming from? Breaking in people's houses, breaking in people's cars. Older people going to the pawn shop, buying guns for them young folks. You know, we got to find out where all these guns coming from, because I heard that they picked up a lot of young folks and they picked up guns.
Yeah, well, they got the chief he's in right now, so he can speak about it.
Yeah, so that's a problem, finding out where the guns are coming from. That's probably an effort that we should address. You know, it's just real easy for some of these kids to get guns. Most of them are illegally purchased. They take them from family members' houses. They buy them off the streets. It's a big problem.
Stolen?
What's that?
Stolen?
Stolen, yeah. We recovering a lot of guns. The incident that happened right outside the city, there was several guns involved. Several calibers of guns, according to what I heard from the sheriff's office, at least 3 different calibers. So it's a big problem. I certainly agree with that. We're working on it every day, is all I can tell you.
Thank you, Angelo. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Since nobody don't know where the gun's coming from, I'm gonna tell you where they're coming from. They're coming from off of the railroad track. When them trains stop, those people break in them trains and take the guns out of there. I done see them done it in the night wall.
Okay.
Since they don't know, I'm gonna tell them where it's getting from. Off the train. All in Wagner, Louisiana, if the train stop, they break them seals and take them guns out of there like that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Motion in a second.
Meeting adjourned.